students need today, fundamentally in academics, is not information. They need inspiration and vision. They can get information from the library as well as Google. Once they're inspired and hardworking, the technology and coaching available to them will help them and excel in whatever they choose to study. With the technology and the tools available, teachers can help students master concepts in math and science and other fields like never before. We need to keep asking, what are some ways to get students to be excited about learning? Teachers can provide tools with the students with the tools they need to have a vision and necessary inspiration. We need teachers more than ever before to inspire students and then to give them the information that they need. But we need to remember that we live in a unique time in history where information is readily available. Welcome, my friends. My name is Amos Tarfa, and I want to talk briefly today about graduating debt-free from college. Maybe you have a high school student, or you know someone who is thinking about what to do with their lives after high school, or maybe you have a child who is in middle school who's already thinking about college. Well, let's talk about how to graduate debt-free from college. There's a few videos in this series that will be coming out, but I want to start this video by establishing the premise of number one, that it is possible for that to be very normal for you and your family to graduate debt-free from college. However, it comes at a cost, of course. Number one, you have to set your mind in realizing that I'm going for a purpose. I'm going for a reason. So before I dive further into this video, I want to do something unique. I want to share a few books that can help you as you think about what it takes to graduate debt-free from college. There are some very good books out there, and there are some good ways to go about it. So let's look at a few of these books. The first one is by Anthony O'Neill, called Debt-Free Degree. He goes through and he talks about different areas and different approaches, and he starts from, like, he talks about the freshman year, the sophomore year, and so on and so forth. Very good book, Debt-Free Degree. There are other books that I recommend, books that will focus more on the alternatives to getting the typical college degree. If you have someone who is in high school as far as like a freshman or sophomore, maybe getting them a CLEP testing book is a good idea, because that is one of the ways that you can graduate debt-free from college. So some good books to keep in mind if you want to graduate debt-free. Other books that we can bring into this is to help us think about education differently and in a unique way. The Thomas Jefferson Education. Very good book talking about teaching a generation of leaders for the 21st century. Okay, before we go further, I've given you some books now. There's more that will come later in the video. But I want to talk briefly about the broad, like, let's just look at it from top-down approach. And then I will actually make all these videos about the debt-free college into a course on my Teachable website, which if you go to that Teachable website sometime next week, for this course, it'll be available. But right now, I do have courses on Teachable, and you can find them in the link below. So let's talk about the big picture. Number one, in order to graduate debt-free from college, it depends on when I meet a person and have this conversation. Because if somebody is a senior in college right now versus somebody who has graduated versus someone who's in middle school, they're in different phases of life. So it is hard to answer everyone's concerns in one video. So let's just talk about a few things. Number one of the reasons or one of the ways to go to college debt-free, for your bachelor's especially, that's what I'm focused on right now, is one of the ways you can do that is to first have a goal. What is the goal? And why are you doing what you're doing? That's very important. If you have a fifth grader who's telling you every day, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a doctor. Well, in order to be a doctor in the United States, you have to get a 4-year degree first. So you know they want a 4-year degree. So what should you do at this time? Well, here's the thing. You can begin to give them tools to help them prepare for CLEP testing in as early as middle school. CLEP tests are designed by College Board, the same organization that makes the SAT test. And if you take a CLEP test, for example, for economics, and you get a score that is a passing score, you get that credit at many institutions in the United States. So I repeat, if you take a CLEP test for a subject like college math or economics and you pass, you get the credit. I've known people who graduated college by the age of 20. They were done by 19 or 20, debt-free. And that was one of the approaches they used, is they CLEP'd out of many courses. Now, you can CLEP up to 60 credits, for example, that could be transferred to certain institutions. 60 credits. Do you know how many credits you need to graduate from a typical college? 120 credits. You can CLEP the first 2 years of your college. Wow, that's amazing. So it's important that we remember the CLEP test is available, and people can use that as one way to graduate debt-free by reducing the amount of time they spend in college right? So you're CLEPing. The CLEP tests are way cheaper. And there are websites that can help you prepare for the CLEP test, like modernstates.org. That's one resource that you can use. So for example, there is a Western Civilization CLEP test. So this book here is the history of Christianity and Western civilizations. That's what this book is. You take this book, you review it, and then you go and you use a book like the College Board CLEP Test Preparation book. If you combine those two, you work hard, you get the credit. Now when you go to the college you want to go to, you tell them, hey, here's my CLEP testing results. Oh, here are my results. Here are the tests I've CLEPed out of. And believe it or not, many colleges will then take that, give you the appropriate credit where it meets the requirement in their university, and you move on. You already have 3 credits, just like that. And imagine if you did that for more and more courses. So again, if you have someone who's in middle school, generally they're not yet working a job. Generally, they might have free time in the summer. Why don't you get them CLEP testing materials? That is one way that we can help students graduate debt-free from our universities. So number one key way is through CLEP testing, but that's tied back to the vision. So before we even look at number one, which is CLEP testing, the question was, what do you want to do with your life? And that is a question that I want to dissect in the next segment of this video. To the topic of going to college, as I mentioned in my series that we're looking at, which is debt-free college, one of the things that is important is answering the question, why are you going to college? What is the purpose? Because ultimately, if we take a step back and we have to ask ourselves, college is not for everyone, but learning is. You can learn a lot of things about a lot of things without going to college, right? But I want people to be lifelong learners. That's part of my goal in life. I want to inspire people to flourish in that way. So for example, we know some of the textbooks they use in college. We know some of the resources people are using. So if you feel, for example, that you're called to go be an auto mechanic, okay, then go get the training to be an auto mechanic. But that doesn't mean you don't learn American history. That doesn't mean you don't learn Western civilization. That doesn't mean you don't learn French or German or whatever language you want to learn. That doesn't mean you don't learn how to appreciate music and so on and so forth. You can do a lot of the things they do in college. If you want to have that discussion, again, let me know. Feel free to comment in the comment section about maybe your specific situation, or maybe you have a question. Send me an email at amostarfa1@gmail.com. But it's important to know that I mentioned this in one of my other videos. Books like this, right? When you take books and learn about the history of America, you learn about the history of France, you learn about the history of different countries, the history of Nigeria, Japan, China. You can learn history. You can appreciate learning and then see how can I apply that to my life. So before people dive into the question of going to college, they should really be thinking about, what am I doing with my life? So here's one quote I want to give you today. Instead of saying, I need to hurry up and go to college. Because some people, when they're graduating high school and you ask them, what are you going to do next? They say, well, I got to get ready. I got to go to college. Why? Why not hurry up and figure out what you're supposed to do with your life first before you answer the question of, I'm going to go dive into that college? And then some people go to an expensive college. That's not necessary, right? Some people go to a college where there's 500 people in a classroom. Again, does that work for you, right? You're paying a lot of money to sit with 500 people and you know that you're not learning, but you're just there to have fun, quote unquote. College is not a place for you to just go and have fun. College is supposed to be a place you learn diligently. Now, I'm not saying we should all be like Isaac Newton, who thought that anything with some of, having social events and so on could be a waste of time. Isaac Newton was unique, but what I'm saying is when you go to college, you have to have a vision, you have to have a goal. One of the things I realized, the difference between some people who go to college as undecided versus those who go with a major, you can actually, and I'm actually going to be doing an experiment and studies in this field over the next few years, you can actually realize how much effort they might put in, right? If you go to college and you're like, I don't know why I'm here, I'm just here, and you have somebody else who's like, oh no, I want to be a nurse. They are focused, they're going somewhere. The other person is like, I don't know why I'm here, I'm just here to hang out. That might lead to a person not giving their best in their classes. So I want to encourage you to encourage your children and other people to ask, what do you want to do? And let's not pressure them in a bad way. But I think America has swung too far to a different direction that is not healthy. Here's what I mean. Now, I grew up in a culture that swung to another way that is not necessarily very healthy. But when I was in fifth grade, I never did sixth grade because of my fifth grade exams that I took, which I thank God they went well. And it went well. I scored well on that exam and I skipped sixth grade. But in fifth grade or sixth grade, we used to take this high stakes test, these standardized tests that if you don't do well in those tests, you literally don't get to go to a good high school and you can't go to a good college. Like your life is determined by what you're doing in 5th grade. Your life is determined by what you're doing at the age of 10. That's what I grew up with. Now, that's not ideal for everyone, but here's the interesting thing. I've listened to conversations, right? Some person is in 12th grade and they say, well, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And maybe their parents tell them, yeah, just take your time. You got time. Okay, yes, they have time in one sense, but how about buying them some good books, like a book about the Wright brothers? Maybe that would inspire them to think about what their gifts are and what their talents are, right? A book about the Wright brothers and people who have invented things, or people who are influential, right? Gifted Mind is another one that comes to mind. This one talks about one of the individuals instrumental in the discovery of MRI technology. So why don't we give them books to inspire them? How about we give them books about inventions, right? About NASA, right? Take them to the NASA space station. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be a rocket scientist. My point is, find different books that can inspire and encourage your young people to think about what they want to do with their lives. And when they know what they want to do, then we can talk about college, right? We can talk about if college fits into their life vision. Because college as a typical 4-year track might not be what fits into everyone's vision. I've written a few books on different topics. One of them is Achieving Excellence in Academics. One of them is Pursuing Excellence in Character. And then I have the book Tools for Mastery Mathematics. And in some of my books, you will notice over and over again that I believe inspiration is important, but we need to inspire students to then start thinking about what they are called to do, what they are to do with their lives. These are important questions. One of the books I've written is called Why Do I Exist? And that, of course, is a very fundamental question that people have to think about. Our lives have meaning and purpose, and we have to then think, okay, why? And why do I exist? So these are books that you can find on my website, livingsensibly.org. Another book that can help people, and they're free on my website as PDFs. But again, if you want to support the work that we're doing, you can feel free to donate with our link below as well. This is another book that is very important called Roadmap that I believe can be a good tool. At least it can just get them thinking, right, about different things as far as career, about different aspects of choosing a direction in college, if they're going to go to college or if they're going to go a certain way. So it's very important that when we're talking about debt-free college, we have to answer the question, why are you even going to college? And you have to have a reason. Even if you have to take some time off after high school, maybe take a gap year, do some CLEP testing. I've talked about CLEP testing before. Do some CLEP testing, take a gap year, and you know what? During that time, figure out more and more, shadow somebody, like go work with someone who might be a nurse. If the hospital won't allow you, maybe just take them to lunch, buy them lunch, listen to what they do. Ask yourself, do you want to do that? Right? If you can shadow in engineering, if you can shadow in economics, if you can shadow the classroom teacher, these are important things to do. So number one, we need to encourage people to think about CLEP testing or testing out of courses. Number two, we need to encourage people to shadow other people and make sure they know why they want to go to college and what they want to do with that degree. Some people say, well, a 4-year degree can open doors no matter what field it's in. You have to be careful about that. If you get a degree in a major that is not useful or doesn't have a high return on investment, you will have student loans and you'll be working in a job that has nothing to do with what you did. And you know what's unfortunate? If your major was teaching you a lot of things that are not true, right? By the way, there are people who study nonsense. It's a thing, just so you know. Nonsense is a thing. I'm not making it up. Look it up. Look up Wittgenstein, a professor out in Germany from back in the day. Nonsense is a thing. So imagine you went to college and studied nonsense, and now you have $80,000 in student loans and you don't have a job. That doesn't take you anywhere. So make sure you ask yourself, why am I studying what I'm studying, and what is the point? That is very important. Knowing the goal will inspire you to go far in life. Thank you for your time. We'll continue in this series, but I hope this helps us as we begin to think about going to college debt-free. In our course on debt-free college or life after high school, that's the course we're putting out this December, we are helping families and students to step back and ask, how can we prepare our children for graduating debt-free from college? In that course, I will take time and address the middle school years, the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years of high school. And no matter where your child fits in that range, we can help them begin to flourish. one of the things for sure we can do again is we can encourage CLEP testing. We can encourage students to shadow other people to figure out what they want to do with their lives. You know what else we could do? We can encourage students to take a gap year. That is actually a healthy thing to do for some people, to figure out what they want to do with their lives. Maybe during that gap year, they could, I don't know, you could do a few things. You could read through the Bible chronologically. That's just one idea I'm sneaking in there because it'll give them a chance to at least get an exposure to a chronological reading of the Bible. You could also study world history. You could study different books on education from people like Mortimer Adler. You could study, you could even take a book like College Knowledge and learn about what people learn in college. And you can begin to learn that on your own. You could take books like the REA company makes books in different CLEP material and AP history and so on and so forth. Take books if you haven't taken these courses and begin to look at the discussions and bring up some concerns you might have to your parents. This is me speaking to young people especially. So these are things you can do. If you want to go into the sciences, for example, you can even get ACS study guides, which you can use to basically study for chemistry, for fun, if that's something you want to do. So my point is there's so many things you can do during your gap year, and I'm actually starting a gap year in 2022, a gap year program that people can take and use as a guide to learn as they maybe have a job. So imagine you have a job and then you take a gap year to keep learning about yourself, about life, about who you've been created to be, your tools, your talents, your skills. And you get a journal. Start writing about what you're learning as you read and as you study, as you reflect and as you pray. Because during that gap year, you might have taken the best time of your life, right? To develop what you need to then go out. If you're supposed to go to college with purpose and you make an impact in the world because you took time to reflect. Don't just rush into going into college without thinking hard about why you're doing it and what the purpose is. And when you go to college, who says you have to do 4 years? Maybe you pay as you go and it might take you 5 years. Nobody's going to deny you a job generally because you went to college for 5 years, right? I graduated college in 3.5 years, and I thank God I had the opportunities. But part of it was I had to be creative. I had to take courses. Well, I took a course over the summer, but then I also did a lot of independent study, and that gave me about 9 to 12 credits. 9 to 12 credits of independent study. So there are ways to get around this and getting, think about it. 9 to 12 credits could cost people as much as $12,000 in some colleges. So keep that in mind, the strategies, and I will give you those strategies. I want you to succeed, and I want your children to succeed if you have children who are in high school, middle school, or those who are in college who might need to take a step back and ask, why am I here? So I hope that you will consider taking my course on debt-free college and college after high school and use that as an opportunity to better prepare your young people, to encourage them to live lives that make sense and to flourish where they've been planted. Thank you for following me through this series. There was the part 1 and the part 2, and then this is the conclusion for now about going to college debt-free. Take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching that video. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you see every time I upload a video. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And if you want to support the work we're doing, please use the links that are provided also. Thank you for your support and have a blessed day.